Okay, so I am recording now, and if I could ask everyone to just voluntarily mute themselves for a little bit while I do this part of tonight's lecture, that would be great, because I want to try to limit the ambient background noise. So as you can see here, so this is our main Canvas module site. I know many of you have already been on it, have already poked around. You guys have done your first assignments. So I know that you've kind of are familiar with this, but I just want to talk about the things that I have added since last week. And actually, let me go to student view, because you're actually looking at my view, which may or may not be helpful. Okay, so this is what you guys will see. So at the top, we have the syllabus module. Then we have the Zoom lecture schedule. That will remain the same throughout the semester. And then next module we have is the resource notebook assignment. And the resource notebook is a resource that you guys are going to put together. So let's just take a look at those instructions. So if you click here, these are the instructions for the resource notebook. And what we're going to be doing is each one of you will be assigned a particular agency that you will investigate, answer questions on, and then do a short presentation at the beginning of class. And we will have presentations every week all the way through the end of November. And there'll be 3 presentations a week. And what I would like you guys to do when you're making your presentations is to prepare like some short, doesn't have to be anything grand, but just a short PowerPoint that highlights the aspects of the agencies that you've investigated. So what I posted also last night was resource, this comes from the County of San Diego, and it is a brochure. And the reason why I posted this last night was to give people a chance to kind of look through, look at the different agencies. These are what we're going to be exploring this semester. And by the way, this brochure and the women's brochure, which I'll look at next, are great additions to your resource notebook. So you're already getting some examples of what type of stuff will go in your resource notebook. So if you did not get a chance to look at that, and I'll find that out in a little bit, because I want to make sure that everybody gets to choose where they want to, the agency they want to investigate. But if you're not sure, I can assign one, or for those that are not here, I will probably just assign them an agency to do a presentation on. So we have this brochure, and then we also have a women's services brochure, which is also available in Canvas. As you can see, not as many women's services available. All right. So when you get the agency that you're going to do, this is basically the, I'm gonna see if I can put this in a, bigger window. Let's see if I can change the share. I can. All right, having a little technical difficulty. All right, we're just gonna have to go with this. So what you're gonna do is you're basically gonna put the name of the program here, physical address, and you're gonna answer all of the questions that are on this sheet. As you type in the information, the sheet may expand. It may go to 2 pages. That's okay. So when you do your presentation, you're actually going to submit this completed form to me so that I can provide it to all the students. And I'm going to set up another module that as we go through the semester with each new agency, I'm just going to continue to add to the module with that. And so what you'll need to do is you'll need to print these out and put these in your research notebook, or in your, in your resource notebook. So are there any questions at this point? And you can use the raise hand feature too, because I have the participants list up at any time. All right. So this is the next thing that's going to be on here. Now, right now, this is completely blank, obviously, because we have not assigned any, let's see if I can make that bigger, because we have not made any assignments. This is what we are going to do tonight. So what I'm going to be asking each of you at some point is to tell me what agency you would like to do and when you would like to do it. And we're going to start our presentations on September the 21st. So there'll be 3 presentations on September 21st, and there will be 3 presentations after that, all the way up until November 30th, when we will have 2, because there's only 29 students in the class at this point. All right. Let's see here, go back. When you go to do your resource presentation, that form that I just showed you a minute ago that you're going to fill out, you will actually go to this link here, and you will do submit assignment, and you will notice that it is a file upload. So you will upload the file by choosing, now let's just see here. I'll just choose one. So you're going to go to wherever your file is, and you're going to select that file, hit OK, and submit assignment. And you'll get this nice little firework saying that your submission has been done. Now you'll notice it says resubmit. If you find out, oh, I left something off, or you need to resubmit it, you can do that. Just let me know that you're doing that, or if there's an issue with your form, that's no problem. I can work with that. For your PowerPoints, I'm not going to ask you to submit those because I will be able to see them when you're doing your presentation, and you will do a screen share just like I am doing now to do your presentation. So, and we can talk about that more. Also, for individuals that need help with that, let me know. We can arrange office hours, and I can try to help you out. And if I'm not able to, then we'll probably find some links for YouTube on how to do it. But I think for the most part, I should be able to help students out with that. But I'll need to know about that in advance. Just send me an email and say you need office hour time, and then we'll arrange it. All right. So let's see here. All right. So that's on the resource notebook. Any questions about the actual assignment or presentation?
When do we have to tell you what program we want to do?
We're going to do that tonight before we leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I know which one I want to do.
Okay, perfect. And that part won't be recorded. I'm only recording this part right now just to upload to YouTube.
Okay.
In case people need that later. I want to go
and
over.
then what does the program have to be on this list?
I'm going to say no. If
Okay.
it's not on the list, let's talk
I don't
about
think
it.
it might be.
And
Okay.
because
Oh, it is. Never mind. It is.
okay,
It's on there.
okay, awesome. Any other questions on the resource notebook? Anything anybody wants me to go over one more time? I know I kind of went through this a little fast, but it is being recorded, so you can look at it and go through it as many times as you want. And by the way, I have noticed that lots of people have been viewing my YouTube page, which I hope is being helpful. So that's my intent. All right, the next module is the writing assignments. And in the writing assignments, these are the papers that are going to be due this semester. And the first one is going to be the Trans-Theoretical Model of Change paper, or the TTM. TTM is an abbreviation that I often use. You'll see here that TX, if you remember from last week's lecture, TX, capital T, lowercase x means treatment. And so I'm going to start using that kind of language to kind of get you, for those of you that aren't working in the field, kind of used to using those abbreviations and hearing the clinical language. So what I have done is I have attached a couple of items here. The first thing I've attached is treatment planning and matching to the trans-theoretical model of change. This, I think you guys will find very helpful. This actually talks about the stage of change. What is the focus of that? So if you notice here, we're talking, let's see if I can do, there we go. That's what I want to do. So on this first page, here's the stage of change we're in, pre-contemplation. What do we do in pre-contemplation? This is where we're engaging. Because remember, pre-contemplation basically means, in case you don't know, person doesn't recognize they have a problem. There's no issue, and they have no intention of changing within the next 6 months. Now, a person can sit in pre-contemplation for a very long time, but generally when we're looking at pre-contemplation, they're not looking at any changes between now and February, let's say, of next year, as an example. And so here are the treatment goals. Here are some principles that are used. And then these are the different types of interventions. So for those of you that, and I think most of you have completed your burp notes, in the I section, interventions, this is the type of stuff that you would be writing about in the intervention. So this is going to be a very helpful tool for you as you are writing your paper. And I actually recommend printing this out, keeping it. I've used it in my practice, so it's very helpful. And then it goes on to talk about the stage of contemplation. It goes on to preparation, then to the action stage, and then finally the maintenance stage of change. So I'll let you guys review all that on your own time, but this will be a big help for you when you're setting out to write your paper and any future burp notes. You may want to refer to this. All right. Then the next item that you have access to is a motivational interviewing handout. And on this, it talks about the ORS strategy. And ORS basically means O for open-ended questions, A for affirm, R for reflective listening, and S for summarizing. You will use ORS a lot in every single session that you do. And I'm going to stop here for a second because I see a hand. Go ahead, Monica.
Are treatment goals and principles the same?
Let me go back and look at that, make sure I'm answering the question and understand the question. So you're talking about from this handout, so the treatment goals here are, okay, I see what you're saying. So no, there are two different things. These are the treatment goals, and these are the principles on how you meet those goals, right? So if you're going to establish a working alliance, that is also a principle. So in that case, yes. You're going to use expressing empathy, developing discrepancy. This is where you're highlighting, you know, you might say to a client, well, I see that you're engaging in this behavior, and yet you tell me that your goal is this. So can you explain to me the difference? Like, what is happening here, right? And you're just asking a question. So principles may overlap and look the same as treatment goals, but they are not always the same. For instance, you want to avoid argumentation at this stage. That's a principle. It's not a treatment goal. But if you're avoiding argumentation, then that supports the treatment goal of establishing your working alliance. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Good question. And thank you for asking that. All right, so then back to this handout. Make sure and you'll see the four main principles again being talked about over here on this side. Expressing empathy, developing discrepancy, rolling with resistance, and support self-efficacy. Let's see, I wanted to say something about roll with resistance. Sometimes clinicians don't like to actually use the word resistance. I'm not sure of a better term. I think that they've come up with a better term, but rolling with resistance, you and I, as clinicians, we can talk about this, but we would never tell a client, hey, you're being resistant. Because resistance doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing it deliberately. So a person that is pre-contemplative, right, they don't think they have a problem, of course they're going to resist because they don't have a problem. So, but they're not doing it maliciously. I hope that makes sense. And Nicole, I see your hand.
I just had a question real quick on the TTM paper.
Yes.
The attachments that you have here for like example of A+ paper.
Yes.
You can't open it. It says access denied.
Oh, I'll have to something went wrong with the link, but
Okay.
we're going to look at them in a minute because ironically, I think I can open them, which was part of my problem last night. So when I went and I tested this, everything opened for me, even in student view. But then other students couldn't open it. So I had to go in and recreate links. So let's go and look at that right now. But I'll show you what it looks like.
All right, thank you.
Sure thing. All right, so let's see, in the instructions, this is where those links are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these links out of this page because I think that's the problem. And so you'll see later tonight or tomorrow morning that these links will actually be individual links underneath the TTM paper. So you'll just see them here. So there'll be 6 links instead of 3. So let's go back to that. So let's open up so the first link is actually, oh, well, what do you know?
Yeah.
It's doing it to me too. It didn't do that to me last night, but here's what I'm going to do. We're going to leave student view and we'll just go in using my stuff. And then I'll fix this so you guys will have access to it. So the first link And we're just gonna, oh no, we'll open it with, but you can't see it right now, can you? Let me see.
We can see it.
Okay, good. Okay. For some reason, it looks different right now, so I didn't think you could see it. So the first link is actually an article on that talks about the stages of change. So this is a resource that you guys can use. You can also use it in your paper. If you use it in your paper, you have to cite it. But in addition to this, I want you to look for at least 2 other resources that talk about the stages of change to use in your paper, because I really kind of want you guys to get a good idea on the TTM model. So in other words, I want you to do a little bit of research when you do this paper. So I've already thrown one up here. You guys can use this, and then we'll have you look for at least 2 more other citations, other sources. And then if you need help with that, we can do office hours and I can help you with that as well. Most of the stuff you should be able to find through the library article resources, and I can point you to that, but not really going to take the time to do that right now. So office hours is a perfect time, or if you can email me questions and I can answer also. All right. Let's go back to, there we go. All right. So then the next example I'm going to pull up is an example of an A+ paper. And again, you will have access to it. So this is a really good example of what I want you guys to do. So you're going to develop a case. And this is the same case. So whoever you develop here for this paper is the same one that you're going to do the diagnostic criteria for, which is the next paper that we'll talk about. And at the end of the semester, by the end of the semester, you will have developed a treatment plan for this individual. So it'll be much easier if you create your client and then do your first paper off of this client, and then use this paper and this client to move on to the next section, which is the diagnostic criteria. So in other words, each paper will be about the same person and you're just building on it. So it's kind of like doing a little mini file on your client. So you'll notice that this individual created a case. Samuel is a 37-year-old Caucasian, self-identified, heterosexual male, United States Marine Corps combat veteran, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you're giving a little bit of the demographics. You're telling a little bit about his story and the situation that, that he has encountered in his presenting problem. So here you see recently he was convicted of his second DUI and has been ordered by the court to attend his second SUD program. And it talks about his legal history, where he is getting income from. Let's see. That's the first page. The second page, you'll see, we go right into it. Samuel is in the pre-contemplation stage of change because he came right out and stated that he does not think he has a substance abuse problem. So when you're writing your story, your scenario, your case, forget that I said the word story. I don't like that word. When you're writing up your case, this is how I want you to be thinking about it. This here is an example. Oops, trying to do this right here. This here is an example of a citation. So whenever you use something in your paper that is not directly your idea, that you used from one of the sources that you got, just tell me who it is. This is actually using APA formatting. I don't care which formatting you use. I'm not going to be a stickler on that, but I do want you to do in-text citations telling me which article that this information came from. I'm going to go to the end here. Hold on 1 second. So as you read through the paper, and then here's the reference page. So you should have a separate reference page with your 3 references. And you know, you can see what this person used. I think this is the one article that I posted. And then these are from 2 other resources that they sought. All right, and I see a hand from Crystal.
How long is the paper? How long does it have to be? Can't hear. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
In the paper, it says 3 to 4 pages.
Okay.
I think you should be able to get everything you need to tell me in no more than 4 pages.
Okay.
And I really want you guys to stick to 4 pages. And here's why. I spend a lot of time because I like to go through and I like to read and I like to make comments that I hope are helpful. And that takes a long time. If you give me an 8-page paper, that's just a lot of work. And honestly, it doesn't need to be 8 pages. That's too much. So
Perfect.
3 to 4 pages, 4 pages max.
Got it.
Yeah, I was just emphasizing that for everyone else. And I will tell you, I'll be honest with you. When I was a student, I had a tendency to write a lot. So so I know that feeling to do that, but just, yeah, don't do that. All right, Monica.
4 pages max, including the reference page.
No, the reference page would be a separate page.
Okay.
So like this paper is actually 5 pages long. So it has 4 pages of narrative and 1 reference page. To me, that's perfect. This was a very well-written paper. All right. So now I'm going to go back to the, go ahead.
So we're gonna develop the case study now. Are we
Yes.
supposed to write the same case study like each time we write a paper, or can we just do like a summary for the next papers?
The next papers are going to be a little bit different, and you'll see there will be some summarization to it, but you're not going to be rewriting the whole thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the most writing on the case will be on this first paper. On the second paper is where you're going to develop your diagnostic summary, and I'm going to teach you how to do it's called a 3-paragraph diagnostic summary. It actually, the first paragraph is you'll repeat some of the same information from this paper. John is a 22-year-old Caucasian self-identified male, right? You'll repeat some of that same information in your diagnostic summary, but the second paragraph is where you're going to actually write out what the diagnosis is and what the evidence of that diagnosis is. So you're going to hit all of the criteria that client meets, and I'll show you what that looks like. That tends to be the longer part of that paper. And then the last part is you're going to wrap it up with referral recommendations and how the client responded to the diagnosis and your recommendations. And then the last paper really is just going to be a treatment plan. That's all it's going to be. So that will go along with the first 2 papers. And I see Brian. Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
This is an older question, so
Sure.
I'll send you a note and ask you later
Okay,
about
that's
it.
fine. You can do that.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Here's the second example that I will show you. And switch the screen here. So you'll see here, this is an example of sometimes some of the feedback that I like to give. This was done not in Canvas. So in Canvas, you'll be getting similar feedback, but it'll look a little bit different. But this paper is a long paper. This is like probably 2 pages longer than it needs to be. But it still provides a good example of what you may be going, okay, how should I write this? What should I write? Stuff like that. So this is a pretty detailed paper, but remember, I kind of want you guys to keep it to 4 pages. So you can look at these on your own time. And I like how they talk about SMART goals here, different types of therapy, interventions. This is also something that you can use in your diagnostic summary paper. But again, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. All right, let me, let's see, back to, this. And so we're back to Canvas. Go back to student view. Let's see. And then go back and make sure I've covered everything I want to cover for this. Okay, so we talked about the resource notebook. We have talked about the writing assignments. And so this is where your focus is first. These two will come up in later lectures where I'll talk about that and have examples and everything else. So I just want you to be focusing on this. This paper is due on October 5th. So basically you have a month from a little over a month from now. I recommend getting started on the paper as soon as possible. Do a little bit each week. So that way you don't stress yourself out. All right, any questions? All right, so I'm gonna pause the recording.